Welcome to Sewing with Joy Designs. Today we are making a bobbin lace bag, or it could also make a really good project bag for knitting and crochet projects. It's got two outside pockets with zippers that are just a big single pocket. Great for holding supplies, big enough for scissors. We've got snaps across the top to keep the dust out and just hold it together. And we have zippers that go all the way down the bottom to make it easy to get your lace pillow in or your project in. We've got these pockets on the sides that hold 10 bobbins each. I just have bobbins on this one side, but this other side has the same 10 pockets. They're also a great size for knitting and crochet needles. And then this one is for a square pillow, and then there's also in the pattern circles for a circular base. All right, this pattern will be linked down below. We will get started. I'm going to move this out of the way. I've got all of my pieces cut out and marked. These are handles. These are the top bands with the button placement marks. This is one of the outside panels. The pleats are marked on the wrong side, and then on the right side the pocket placement is marked, and I just marked the corner on the outside piece, but you can mark the whole square. So we've got two of those. We have the outside base material. We have the inside base material. That's what our inside looks like. These have all of the quarter points marked, like this. And we'll have, these are our zipper pocket facings, and we want the whole square marked on here because this is what we will be sewing along. Those will be some of our first pieces we work with. These are the pocket bag lining for the zipper pockets. Then we have these, which are for the bobbin pockets on the inside. And these should have lines marked on them. I couldn't get the markings to show up on this busy fabric, so I'll show you how to do it if you can't get your marker to show up on your fabric. And then these are the inside side panels. We have the pleats marked on the outside, and then the center should be marked. All right, I am going to set aside everything else, and we'll just have our main side panels, our facing, and I'm gonna put these on the top of my pile to the side. These are the zipper bag lining. Okay, let's start with just one of these. Okay, we are going to line up the corners of this piece with the corners of this that we've marked. I like to use pins for this. So I'll go through the top corner of the lining and then take my pin through the top corner of the main fabric, and then back up through that bottom corner just a tiny bit, and back up through that bottom corner to line up that edge. And then I'll do the same over here. Okay. So now this is ready to sew along these lines for the rectangle. I'm going to set this aside and do the next one as well. You can do them one at a time. I find it a little bit more efficient to do both at the same time. Now we're ready to sew both of those. I have my machine on just a straight stitch, 2.5 millimeters. And when I get to the corners, I'll drop the needle down, or leave it with the needle down, pivot and turn. I like to start in the middle of one of the long lines. You can start anywhere on the rectangle. We will fold it in half, cut just a little bit right down the center, and then I'm going to cut a straight line till about 1/4 of an inch from the end, right down the middle of our sewn rectangle, and then do a 45-degree cut to the corners, making sure you don't cut through your stitches. Cut back down this other side. Do the same. Okay, I'm going to do that on both of them. Now we are going to pull this fabric to the, or we're going to pull the facing fabric to the wrong side. My canvas doesn't have a right side and wrong side, so you just have to choose which side you're using. And remember that your marked pleats are on the wrong side. So pull this through. And then we're going to press it in place. I like to do just a little bit at a time. You want it rolled just slightly to the wrong side so that none of this facing fabric shows from the right side. Right side. The facing should not be showing. We'll give it a press from the side as well. Okay, and set this aside and do the next one. Okay, now we're going to do the bag pieces for the zipper pocket. So I have one of my bag pieces and one of my 9-inch zippers. We are going to place this with right sides up. It's a directional fabric, make sure it's the direction that you want it. So if you have teddy bears, make sure they're facing the right direction or whatever is on your fabric. We're going to place this on here. with the zipper facing up. So we have the wrong side of the zipper to the right side of the fabric. It's not going to go all the way to the edges, so just center it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Now we'll sew along this edge with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to be using a zipper foot. If you're using zipper tape, it's easier if you haven't put the zipper pull on yet. But if you're using a pre-made zipper, just make sure to stop and move it out of the way when you get to it. Now we're going to take and press the zipper and the fabric away from each other. Just pull the zipper up. If you have a plastic zipper, make sure that you're not ironing right on it so that it doesn't melt. Now we're going to take the other bag lining piece. We're going to set it right sides up. We're going to put the two pieces so that the fabric is right sides together, and your zipper tape will once again be face up. So wrong side of the zipper to the fabric. Line up the edges of the bag pieces. Once again, the zipper is not coming all the way to the edge. And your two bag pieces are not going to be the same length. We'll take care of that in the next step. And we'll sew across the top again with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Now at this point, you are going to use hem tape or a washable glue stick. One of the purple kids ones works pretty well. I'm going to use hem tape. I can leave a link below. I get mine from Wawak, but I'll also leave an Amazon link if that is a more convenient place for you to get it. I really like getting my sewing supplies from Wawak. Okay, I am putting the edge of this tape right along my stitching line. Now, before you take the backing off, you want to put on your zipper pull. Zipper pulls, which I also got from Wawak. Okay, so you're going to want to put it on from the side that you want to pull it to. So when I close the bag, I want to close it to the right. So I'm going to put it on from the right side. Do that, we'll separate the zipper a couple inches. Take our zipper pull and put it on the left side, about halfway up. Hold that in place, and then put the other side in so that they're lined up. And then carefully push the zipper on. If you don't get it on exactly the way you want to, you can take it off and try again. Sometimes it takes a few tries to get it how you want it. And then I pull it to the center and just leave it right there. Do the same on this bag. Okay, now that we have our zipper pulls on, we'll bring back in our side panel pieces with the prepared hole. Let's take our backing off of the hem tape. And we're going to take and line up this hole over the zipper. Just gonna center it on there. Now we'll place the edge of this hole right along that sewing line we had before and the edge of the hem tape. Do one side and move the zipper pull out of the way, and then I do the other side. Hem tape is definitely not permanent, so if you don't get it right the first time, you can pick it up and try again. Okay, now we're going to turn it over, and we're going to pull this piece up out of the way. You can just clip and pin it so that it doesn't come back down. Then we are going to be sewing along just this bottom edge. We'll do a top stitch 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, right along this bottom edge. I'll get the next one ready and then I'll sew it. You can either backstitch at the ends, or you can leave the tails long and pull them to the back side, which is what I'll be doing. It gives it just a little bit more of a professional finish to not have the back stitches. But if that's easier for you, then back stitches are just fine. You can use a zipper foot. I like to use an edge stitch foot. Make sure both lining pieces are out of the way. We're going to sew right along that edge. Make sure to move the zipper pull when you get to it so it doesn't mess up your straight line. I left my tails long from the back side. This is my tail. I'm going to pull it a little bit until this little loop pops up. I'll pull that loop through to the back and then tie it in a reef knot. So right over left, left over right. And then trim the ends. I like to leave about 1/4 of an inch just to make sure that it doesn't come undone. And since this will be fully inside, do the other on the same and on the other pocket. Now you will unclip that top bag piece and pull it down. I forgot to do this before, but you can trim these two to be the same length. Trim them to match. You can do this before you attach it to the side panel piece. Okay, both bag pieces in the right place. Now you're going to top stitch along these 3 edges, so up, over, and down, meeting in the same place where your last top stitching ended. Again, make sure to move the zipper pull out of the way when you need to. Make sure both of those lining pieces are laying as they should. Nice and flat underneath. We'll do the same thing of leaving the tail long and then tying a knot in the back. now that we have our top stitching done, make sure that everything looks good from the back. Nothing got tucked up weird. We'll tie our knots. If you are using a metal zipper, make sure to go slowly over the zipper. My zipper is plastic and my machine has no trouble going over it. But if your machine is having trouble going over it and your needles are breaking, then go really slowly and just hand crank as you go over the ends of the zipper. So now we are going to sew the edges of the bag. So we're going to sew a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance along these 3 sides. And we're sewing just through the pocket bag, not through this. So make sure that your side panel piece is moved out of the way. Switch back to a regular foot and with my needle right in the middle. And we'll sew that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now our zipper pocket is all done. Should be able to open it, go inside. It's a completed pocket, nothing's gonna fall through. It zips smoothly. You can wash the water-soluble marks off the edges now, or you can wait and do them all at the end. But that is the completed zipper pocket. We'll set aside these pieces, and next we'll do the interior bobbin pocket. Now we're going to be working on the internal pockets, putting the bobbins or Indian crochet needles in. So we have these pieces. If you have fabric that you can see the lines on, then you'll take one with lines and one without lines. And we're going to place them right sides together. We're going to sew with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, starting on the bottom, up around and back down, and leave about a 2-inch gap at the bottom. Now we'll trim the corners and turn them right side out. I just want to poke the corners out. If you have something like a tube turner, you can use the inner piece to help get those corners nice and out. Now we are going to give it a good press. Make sure that kind of give it a finger press first and roll the seam out towards the edge. It makes it easier to press it. And the opening where the hole is will just get folded so that it all lines up. Now we are going to top stitch along the top edge of this pocket. Both of these. Okay, now we are going to sew these onto our side panel lining pieces. Take one of these, and with it still folded in half, I like to kind of finger press the center. Open it up. This right here is our center line, and we are going to place the pocket 4 inches from the top. So I will put a ruler so it's 4 inches from the top, and then find the center of these and line it up just like that. This is our center line, and that's lining up with our memory crease, and it's 4 inches from the top. Now you can pin it in place. I like to use this 505 temporary adhesive. Just give it a little bit. You could also use hem tape for this step. And this stuff will wash out. Now we are going to sew our 1-inch lines down. Actually, we're not going to sew the 1-inch lines yet. We are top stitching these 3 edges, and then we'll sew the 1-inch lines. If you have fabric that's hard to see the lines on, you can use a 1-inch strip of paper. I just cut out some more of my grid, but it doesn't need to have a grid on it. And you'll place it right along your last sewing line, and then sew right along this edge. And you want to make sure you're sewing right on the edge so it doesn't end up bigger than 1 inch. Because if you keep doing just slightly bigger than 1 inch, by the time you get to the other side, your last pocket is going to be too small for a pair of bobbins. Check to make sure that all of these turned out 1 inch. Those are all looking really good. We'll just trim off the threads from the front. You have threads on the back too. As long as they aren't tight and pulling, I just leave them because I think it gives a little bit of extra security with these stitches. Now we have our bobbin pockets done. The next step is to do the pleats. I like to start by ironing all of my pleats first, or I guess pressing all of my pleats first, and then sewing all of them, but you can also do them one at a time. So we have our markings on the wrong side. We're going to fold. We have solid line, dotted line, solid line. We're folding along this dotted line and bringing these 2 solid lines together. So we folded along the dotted line. You can see that the solid lines are matching up. And we give it a press. And I'm going to do that on both pieces. I've got 3 pleats on each side for both lining pieces and both main pieces. pleats ironed. Now I will just refold these along the memory crease that I created and sew right along this line. This is a 2-inch line, and we're just going to use a regular 2.5 inch or 2.5 millimeter stitch. My camera ran out of storage and stopped filming. I finished sewing the pleats and I pressed them towards the center and then just basted it across the top edge with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. And I did that on all the pieces. The next step is putting in the zipper. I put in one zipper already that didn't get filmed, so I'm going to show you how to put it in on the other side. First side is a little bit easier actually, so it should be fine. Okay, we're going to start with one of our I think I'm going to separate the zipper on this side to make it a little bit easier to explain how it goes in. Okay, so we have one main side panel piece. We're going to take our zipper and place it right sides together. There will be a bit of an overhang, which is fine. Now we are going to baste with a 1/8 inch seam allowance and using our zipper foot. Now we are going to take a side lining piece. When it's the second zipper, it's going to be the one that's sewn onto this main panel piece already. So we'll wrap it all the way around. It gets a little bit more cumbersome when you have the other side of the bag, if you had the other side of the bag attached to the zipper, but it would just be in between these two pieces. Okay, now we'll sew this with a 3/8 inch seam allowance and a regular stitch length. I like to sew it with the lining down. I just find that a little bit easier. Now we are going to flip this around so that the zipper is sandwiched in between, and we have the right side of the fabric on either side. And we're going to give this a press, pressing the fabric away from the zipper. Now we're going to attach the fabric, the panel pieces, to the other side of the zipper. So we'll take our other main side panel piece, line it up, and baste it in place again. Now we're going to take our lining piece. It is not attached to this side, so this is one lining piece, and we want the other lining piece. And we're gonna bring it around so that it is right sides together with this, with our zipper sandwiched in between. So we end up with the bulk of the bag in this middle area. Once again, sewing with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. sides out and press this side. Now we are going to top stitch down the sides of the zipper. You can attach both zippers first or top stitch first. I have both zippers attached now. Just do 1/8 of an inch from this folded edge. Make sure that you are pulling both the lining and the main fabric away from the zipper so you get a nice clean edge. Reattach this zipper before I top stitch because I think it will be a little bit easier. If your zipper comes apart and you need to re-separate it, just put the zipper pull on from either side. And then pull it all the way down and off. Now your zipper is reattached. Now I will finish top stitching. Now we have both zippers attached, so we should have one big circle with our lining fabric facing inside and our main fabric facing the outside. At this point is when we will put on the zipper pulls. We want to make sure that we are doing it from the bottom. So before, separate it a few inches. Put it on the left and then put the right up so that it matches, and just kind of works its way on there. And then we'll put it in the center. Now we have our zipper pull on. Next step is going to be attaching the base to the bottom. We'll start with our main base piece. And we're going to place it right sides together along the bottom edge of our side panel pieces. You should have your quarters marked. 1/4 is going to go right here at the zipper, and we're lining it up with this main side panel pieces and not this extra bit of zipper or this little bit of lining that was extra. Clip that in place. Actually, if you want to, you can trim your excess zipper off right now if you have any. Okay. There's our center. So we'll place this next quarter mark. This half, oh, it looks like I marked it on the lining, but not on the main. And then we are going to clip in between those 2 points as well. We'll continue around the edge this way, attaching the quarter marks to our zippers and their centers. Now we're going to sew all the way around this with just barely inside a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now that the main base is sewn on, we're going to turn this over and we're going to attach the lining now. We're going to clip it on in the same way, matching up the quarter marks with the zippers and the center marks. And this is right sides together with the side panel pieces. Okay, I've got that all clipped. I've left this space open, and I'm gonna leave about 4 to 5 inches to turn the bag through. So with the main one, we sewed all the way around. This one, we're leaving a gap, and we're gonna sew with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, which should be right on that line that you sewed last time, or just to the inside towards the bag, not towards the seam allowance. So we want it right on that line or towards the bag. So I sew with that previous sewing line facing up. That's sewn all the way around, and we have our hole here. So now we're just going to turn it right side out. Okay, and there's our base sewed on. Inside, we have our hole. You can either top stitch this in place, fold the edge and hold it on. Or I mean, not top stitch, hand stitch this in place, but I prefer to top stitch. I think it's easier if these zippers are separated and open most of the way. You don't want them open all the way, but most of the way helps a lot. Okay, now we're gonna top stitch. I like to have the lining up so I can see to close this hole. I'm gonna start just before the lining. I'm gonna top stitch on the base of the bag, not on the side panel. And as you go, you're going to want to make sure that both the main piece and the lining piece are pulled away from the side panel to make that the top stitching look nice on both sides. Okay, there's the whole base of our bag sewn on and top stitched in place. From this side, the top stitching will be just on towards the base as well. All right, we're gonna set this aside for a minute while we do the handles. These are handle pieces. We're gonna start by folding them together, right sides together, and sewing along this long edge with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now we are going to turn them right side out. I like to use this tube turner. Stick it in So there's about a little over an inch maybe at the end sticking out. And then you put the blunt side now we're going to press them. You want to roll it so that the seam is right on the edge there. And give it a really good press. Now we're going to top stitch along this sewn edge. You can top stitch along both edges if you'd like. I just do the sewn edge. There is our completed handles. Bring the bag back. And we are going to attach the top band now. And take one of these that I've marked the buttons on, and I'm going to line it up right sides together with the top of this bag. We want it to extend past the inches, or past the ends by 1/4 of an inch. If you have a lot of excess zipper up here, it's a good idea to trim it off. And then we'll pin, clip in the center. All of your pleats should line up. They don't have to be exactly, but they should all line up if they've all been pressed towards the center. I'm going to clip the top band on the other side as well. Now we're going to sew across this top edge with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now we are going to press this up, and this seam allowance is going to go up towards the top band. So press it from this side first. You can also press it from the other side. Now we're going to take and place these. This dot right here is our center mark. And I'm going to place this 1.5 inches from the center, and then I want it going up 1 inch. I'm going to clip it in place. On this side, and do the same. 1.5 inches from the center and 1 inch up. Now we're going to baste these with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now we'll set that aside for a second again. We're going to take our other top band pieces, fold them fold one of the long edges 1/4 of an inch towards the wrong side. And we're just going to give that a press. Now we're going to take one of these and we're going to place it right sides together with this. And we want both bottom edges to be folded when we sew it. Now we're going to sew short edge and this long edge and this short edge with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And when you sew, you're going to want to start right on the outside of this zipper, just barely on the outside, and then straight line up. we are going to just trim the corner, and then we're going to turn this right sides out. I like to use the sharp end of my tube turner, just kind of poke these corners. Now we're going to press this in place. We'll refolding this memory crease that we made before, folding it right along that seam allowance, right along our stitching line there. And then making sure that this up here is nice and pulled out. You can pin along here. I find it easier not to because I feel like the pins kind of mess with how it's laying. You could also use hem tape. Hem tape would be work really well here. Okay, now we are going to top stitch all the way along this, which will also close this edge. If you prefer not to top stitch, you can hand stitch this edge down to the lining. It does get a little bit thick, so make sure that you're going slow. When I get to the handle, I switch to a triple stitch. If you don't have a triple stitch on your machine, you can sew it, back stitch all the way across, and then sew again. And that will give you 3 times across the handle for a little bit more security. Over here is a little section where the top stitching came off of this top band. So that's one of those areas that I'm gonna fix. Okay, that is looking much better. I'll be using open metal ring snaps. I got these from Wawak, I believe. You can also get them from Cam Snap, which is where I got the press. Dritz also sells them. I've gotten a handheld snap press at Walmart before. I've also done plastic cam snaps. I prefer the metal ones because I think that they hold a little bit better. The first one is going to be 1 inch from the outside edge. If you marked them before, then you'll already have your markings. You can just double check that. Do the other side. If you don't want to do snaps, you could also do buttons and buttonholes, or you could just leave the top open. It would still work. Okay, next what I'm going to do is going to be right in the center. And then I will do 2 right in the middle of the ones I've already done. And I'll repeat on the other side with the other half of the snaps. Okay, there is our completed bag. I'm going to wash out these water-soluble markings and then show you putting in the bobbin lace pillow. Here is the completed bag. Already got some bobbins in here. Just open it up. pillow or your knitting and crochet projects in here. Since it zips all the way down to the base, it's really easy to get the pillow in. Easy to put bobbins in. And then zips up the sides. Snaps across the top. We've got these nice pockets here for putting in extra supplies or scissors. And our pillow is all, or our bag is all ready to go. The link to the pattern as well as the custom bags can be found down below. Thanks for sewing with me today. Bye.